want Himan Didi also to add to whatever it is Dillu Didi is saying. Over to you, Dillu.
Good evening. Namaskar. Thank you very much, Vivek. Yes, so being a parent as well as a counselor, I think we learn on the job a few signs or precursors, as we say. Of course, in academic front, we are looking at difficulty with reading or writing, a spelling issue, and we understand that of course the child has to be at that level. In terms of, if you ask a standard 7 child to read a standard 9 or a 10 portion academic curriculum, it doesn't make sense. But if a child is consistently finding difficulty in reading, in spelling, with proper, see, we cannot, again, I would really like to specify that it's just not one observation. It has to be over a period of time if it is a school. And as a parent, I would say trust your gut instinct as to where your child uh, do not believe today's I'm jumping a little bit, Vivek. Today everything becomes an issue, or it, you read something and you apply it to your child. Take a pause, take a deep breath, and see that child, and then you decide whether it is. And neither a teacher nor a child can assess someone with SLD. Another difficulty that many children face is in their executive function, in terms of sequencing what is the beginning, the middle, and the end, perhaps, of a story, following directions. With younger kids, it could be tying their shoelaces. Of course, attention and focus is another area that many children find difficult. Organization, waiting, transitions, like, now we put away these books and then we go in for this class, or we move to the library. Many children find it difficult at times too. And then what do we look at? The behavior. Is there avoidance? Is there a withdrawal from writing or reading? And many parents say, तो खूप हुशार आहेस, पण तो खूप आळशी आहे. Being lazy is another sign where the child is avoiding something. So we need to look into. I'll end over here, Vivek.
Thank you, Dillu Didi. I think that was a very good snapshot of some of the signs of SLD. I would like to hand it over to Siva, followed by Hema Didi, also to kind of opine on this matter, to add to whatever Dillu Didi has said.
Yeah, well said, Dilu. I also wanted to add a little bit. Like it's visible even earlier sometimes in, the children in pre-primary, when they are unable to open the taps clockwise, or they are unable to clap in a pattern, or they are unable to dance, in the directionality that they are required to. So, clockwise becomes anti-clockwise. And they are unable to express their thoughts quite often, in a sequence, because it's the sequencing, as Dilu pointed out, that is very, very hard for them, to follow a pattern. So, yeah, I would just add that. And I guess later at primary school, it's really then that it, manifests itself in their reading and writing skills. So I'd like to add that. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Hima Didi, anything to add to this?
Yes. The thing is that what happens in schools or at home, generally the observation is that even though the child is having difficulty, most of the time the child will try to hide it. Okay. And the support is given by the parent. And in spite of knowing that there is something which is not the way it should be, but then the child is also trying, because the child also understands somewhere. I think the second graders or the third graders understand that why am I not like the one besides me? Okay. And why am I writing slower? Or why I'm not doing the maths? Or why I'm not able to button my shirt? Or these questions arise. But then the child is not able to express it or to the parent, or maybe to the teacher, or teacher is not understanding. And the parent, as Dilmeher said, very true. Most of the parents will say, उसके पापा भी ऐसे थे, उसके ग्रैंडफादर भी ऐसे थे, द great grandfather was also like that, father was also like that, and that's what he is, and it becomes all right later. My child will be all right later. So I think that is something which has
Yes.
to definitely worked on.
Thank you, Didi. I would now like to kind of get the parents' perspective because they are the people who are with the child every day and their own individual experience of how it is that this plays out. सो चाय दीदी आपसे मैं चालू करता हूँ। तो आपको कैसे पता चला कि संकेत का कुछ लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी ऐसा हो सकता है? आप जरा उसके बारे में थोड़ा गौर करें।
छाया दीदी अनम्यूट
आप
करो।
म्यूट पे है।
अनम्यूट करा, क्या अनम्यूट करा?
वो माइक पे आप प्रेस कीजिए।
हाँ अभी सुनाई देगा।
हाँ यस,
बताइए ना।
मैं मराठी कंफर्टेबल करती हूँ बात करने के
हाँ
लिए।
बिल्कुल बात करो।
हाँ हिम्मत दीदी आप ट्रांसलेट कर दीजिए।
नहीं कोई जरूरत नहीं दीदी, तो आप बताइए ना प्लीज।
हाँ हाँ, मुझे जब पता चला कि बाबा संकेत के बारे में, तो संकेत बातें करने में लेट हो गया, तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि बाबा ठीक है थोड़ा लेट बात करते हैं। जब भी तो स्कूल में जाने लगा, तो स्कूल में जाने के बाद में पता चला उसको राइटिंग का प्रॉब्लम है, उसको रीडिंग समझ में नहीं आता है, उसको कुछ सब प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे हैं। तो पता चला कि स्कूल वाले ने बताया कि आप केएम हॉस्पिटल में जाके काउंसलिंग करिए, असेसमेंट की जरूरत है उसको। फिर असेसमेंट करने के बाद में पता चला कि उसको रिमीडियल ट्यूटर की जरूरत है। फिर बाद में हमें पता चला कि बाबा एज ए पेरेंट हमें मालूम ही नहीं कि रिमीडियल ट्यूटर क्या होते हैं। हाँ, तो हम जब भी यहाँ के बाद में कॉल करने के बाद इनसे पूछने के बाद में मालूम पड़ा कि रिमीडियल ट्यूटर होते। उसके बाद पता चला, मेरे बेटे को तो मैंने मराठी स्कूल में डाला था, लेकिन मराठी स्कूल में फिर रिमीडियल ट्यूटर ये करने में बहुत तकलीफ हो गई मुझे। फिर बाद में ऐसा पता चला कि रिमीडियल ट्यूटर भी मराठी में चाहिए, तो मेरा मुलाकात हेमा दीदी से हो गया। फिर हेमा दीदी के बाद मिलने के बाद पूरा प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गया हमारा।
थैंक यू दीदी। Srilata, what about you? I mean, when did you notice that your daughter may have a learning disability?
Yes, so I have a son who's older than my daughter,
Yeah.
And with my son, I think we sort of never sat with him for his work or taught him to read or write, and he just picked it up. And at home, I used to read a lot to both of them, so there were always books around. And my daughter, we noticed, was really keen on listening to stories. And she would be able to sort of, she would actually understand the stories and narrate stories on her own and all of that. But there was a way in which I think it almost hurt her to look at a book, So I sensed that very early on. But I mean, of course, I didn't worry too much. But when she went to school and, it was a Montessori school. So when they were working with materials, again, there was no issue. It didn't show up. It was only when they progressed to reading and writing that suddenly this sort of Pandora's box of problems opened up, so to speak. And we found that there's a huge lag between her intellectual abilities. I mean, we could see that she was fairly bright and really curious, wanted to learn, was eager. That and what she could actually produce on paper and what she could read aloud or even read. And she would actually turn away. Physically, would put a book in front of her eyes, she would actually turn away from the page. So I remember telling my husband, it's almost as though the print is hurting her eyes.
Hurting her.
It was a very instinctive thing. And then we wondered what it was. And fortunately, I did have a special educator friend who then put us on to Mrs. Nirmala Pandit, who was one of the founders of the Madras Dyslexia Association. And so Nirmala it was who actually, initially assessed. And so that's how we got. Yeah.
Thanks, Srilata. So I'll ask Seema now because she has, apart from the remedial aspect, she's also worked a lot on assessment. So, Seema, can you just talk us a little bit about how do you get the child assessed? What happens during an assessment? What do you look for and how do you do this?
Well, first of all, we make sure that the assessment is a happy experience for the child to start with. So we always start with something very simple, which the child already knows. Something like, asking him to identify the letters, making an alphabet arc for us. After that, we start measuring things like the grapheme-phoneme correspondence, which means letter and sound correspondence. That's the first thing we do, so that we can first ensure that the child knows his short vowels and that the child is aware of, the various elements of phonology, like, knowing the lowercase and identifying all the different patterns of writing, the digraphs, initial ones like sh, ch, th. So this is this is done very lightly. So that's something that I would say is the first marker for the phonology aspect, which is very important to reading. And besides that, we do a reading test, which is again a simple one. I don't use only the norm reference tests that the Indian boards want. I also do some tests from the UK. They're all validated tests. So then I do a Salford test, which is for reading, and that determines the child's reading age. As per, as in contrast with his chronological age. So we try and find out what the gap is between his reading age and his chronological age, which is very important. We do the same things for spelling. We have two tests, one for primary. We also have a little test for primary, which is not really an alphabet test or anything like that, but just to test the child's knowledge about a book, whether he knows whether there's a front page or a back page, does he know all these various elements of a book. And besides that, of course, we have to do auditory discrimination tests to check that the children have no difficulties with distinguishing between familiar words, familiar sounds like per, fur. And a lot of children have these issues because when they are young, they've had a glue ear or, some ear infection. So their phonological awareness is not very clear. We also recommend an auditory sequential memory test, which is the digit span, really. Basically, that's what it is. So that we know the number of items that a child can retain. That backward score, everyone here is probably familiar with the digit test. So we do it and we focus on the backward score to be able to diagnose and tell the parent how many items the child can retain in his memory. It's pretty exact as per my experience. Earlier, I was a little hedgy, hesitant to talk about it. But now I've been noticing over the years that the children, we are quite accurately, we know, okay, the child, when he writes, only remembers 3 points in his answer. So then we work on that. We, recommend that we all work together. Besides that, we do visual discrimination tests, which are very important. So we include pictures and letters and clusters and combinations of letters together to see if the child remembers them in the correct order. And through that, we also know about reversals. Although the parents have already told us that the child is making a lot of reversals. Then we also do a full battery of phonological tests where we check the final sound and the beginning sound and the medial sounds. We also check whether they are able to read a whole word, a sight word or not, stuff like that. So I have a battery of tests there for phonology. We also do rapid naming tests. Actually, it's a fairly extensive testing procedure, but they're all very short and sweet. and
Yeah.
easy. So we always do a sample first as a rehearsal for the child. And it's
Okay.
only after that we test them, because all our dyslexic children need that. And anyone with a learning difficulty, if we show him the path, then we
Yeah.
can see that he can do it. So
Thank
we
you so
have
much.
rapid naming tests. Then we also, most parents come with a complaint about behavior. My child doesn't cooperate at home. My child is not behaving well. So just as a part of it, I feel that it's a very easily administered test for all special educators, which is the Vanderbilt. So the Vanderbilt test is easy to administer and easy to score, and we can get full details of the child's behavior at home with the mother and at school. So I think that's really important, because for the special educator, it becomes very easy then to know what the child has issues with, and we don't have to run to a psychiatrist for that. At least for our plans, for our lesson plans. Yeah, so we do all these tests and we come out with some sort of a pretty good picture of the child's learning profile. And at the end of it, once we have the picture, then we talk to the parent and we discuss the report at length. It's a fairly lengthy report, and we discuss and we make sure that the report is fairly well understood by the parent. So there's not much jargon. I personally feel that assessment should sometimes have so much jargon that the parents are so confused about what they really mean. So we make sure that, we write a slightly easier thing. So after that, we get a fairly good picture on the assessment.
Thank you, Seema. Um, so well, we are now going to get into what could be called the meat of much of the today's topic, which is the appropriate learning environment. And of course, that means different things to different people. So, and there are also several different aspects of it that we must look at, which is, for example, what kind of school should we look at as far as our child is concerned? There are mainstream schools, there are inclusive schools. Some parents have gone in for homeschooling. So there are obviously a range of options out there. And at the same time, there are also challenges because, mainstream schools may not be friendly to children with SLD. So there is obviously a mix of choices out there, but with their own, shall we say, pros and cons. So what I would like to kind of hear from, say, the counselors again for this particular question is, starting with, say, the Ludidi and Ima Didi and Seema is, what kind of school should we look for? And because that will then lead to further questions that we can then take a look at.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah.
So for any learning to happen, a child needs to be happy and comfortable. A calm environment, whether at home or at school, is extremely important. Another major factor that I feel is there should be no comparison. Like Srilata said, that, between two children. I also have an older sibling and a younger one with the disability or difficulty. And there is that it may not be the parent, because we are a little aware perhaps, or that gut instinct, but there are family people who say, oh, this one's like this. And in fact, I had to refrain. I had to actually tell my a very close family member, because she used to keep saying, oh, one is all brain and one is all brawn, he doesn't sit in one place. So I said, please don't do that, you're labeling the child. So we have to be very careful with our words. It's just not the space, it is our attitude. So when it comes to schools, I think where the child is comfortable, and is happy and is acknowledged, that is the base. It's, see, writing, reading, academics is one part of a child's personality. There is so much more, which I think we can go into in detail. Now, coming back to how do we help a child with a learning difficulty to work? One, a calm environment. as many distractions can be avoided, that would be good. If it's a school, and of course the connect with the either the remedial teacher, the parent, or the teacher is vital. And that I know that many teachers today do have that connect. You make the child sit in front. You don't scream at the child. You don't punish the child. You don't hold up, what used to happen earlier. This is incomplete work. Look at your handwriting. No shaming. No shaming, no blaming. Then the child is going to withdraw. They will never learn from there. What we can do, like Seema and all were saying now, give breaks. These children need a little break. Need not be a movement break. It can also be a brain break. If you're working at home as a parent, don't say that the child has to sit for 1 hour and study. It's not possible, because there is a difficulty with reading and writing, or even maybe attention. So give that break. Break up the task into small chunks. Okay. Oh, you have to finish 7 answers, or, mugging up. This doesn't work that way with these children. We have to break it up. Another thing is, as an adult, or as the educator, whether a parent or a teacher or a special ed teacher, you need to always remind and redirect the child. The child will fidget. You find it's not how many times I told you, it doesn't work that way. Come on, beta. What did we say? Or get back. It could even be in a big class. It could even be just a tap on the shoulder. Okay, these are very doable, very simple tasks, but which make a tremendous difference in the child's life. Of course, a smaller group in a school, if there's a classroom with 15 children, 20 children, and a classroom with 60 children, it is definitely a smaller number is preferred. But again, one-to-one, I would not recommend always, because social skills have to be learned. You cannot, both sides. It's not only the child with the SLD, it's both sides. The entire society is not made up of brilliant people. We all are a mix, and we need to learn to live and get along with each other. And I will stop. I think I've
It
exceeded.
was beautifully answered, Didi. So thanks a lot. Beautiful answer. So Hema Didi, over to you. Didi, you're on mute.
Yes. Tilmer, what you said is very true. But over a time, what I have also understood is that the child is going to live in a mainstream world. There is nothing special made for that child. Okay. So I would not recommend, I feel that sitting at home and just doing homeschooling, which is not right, because the child will go down in the society to play with the rest of the children. The child in the school, the child will learn in the school also. There are so many things where the child will learn from the school. A very simple thing, what I tell parents generally is that when somebody pushes your child, the child will help himself, herself, how to get up and again how to dust the clothes and again come go back to your friends. Okay, so same thing I say, that even where the education is concerned, the remedial part, I definitely feel that they should get the remedial help. But at the same time, remedial and academics has to go hand in hand, because the child should not feel that, oh, everybody in my class got, especially in India, when we speak about India, that everybody got 18 out of 20 and I got 3. And the simple reason is because the teacher has gone with the red pen, has gone everywhere and given a big cross or made a circle and said that spelling was wrong or that statement was wrong. Okay. So I feel it is all a teamwork. So it's a parent, teacher, remedial tutor, school, everybody. It's a teamwork to work with that child. So I feel that inclusive education is beautiful, mainstream school, beautiful. So it depends on how is it possible for that parent to do. Sometimes the parent, it is not possible for the parent to send. So the parent feels, no, for me, what is comfortable is let the child be at home only and I'll do homeschooling, because I don't want to hear rest of the dialogues given by the peer group or by the teachers, because sometimes what I feel, even now, I think the teachers are no, now the teachers know what SLD is, but I think before, when my son was in school, I think the teachers didn't even know this, what is SLD. So I think that inclusive is the best for the children. And if the school is inclusive, that means the teachers know what it is and the help is more appropriate.
Seema, can you?
I just
Over
wanted
to
to
you.
add one more point. See,
Sure,
it has
sure.
to be an inclusive environment, okay,
Yes.
which is from top down. So from the management to the principal, to the teachers, to the parent and the peers, it percolates down. It
Yes.
cannot be only one teacher or one parent. I just wanted to add that. And it is a teamwork.
Yeah, it's a teamwork.
I also totally agree that it should be an inclusive environment in a school, and that the parent and the teachers and the special educator all work together. But
Yes.
unfortunately, that is an utopian idea, because in most schools, I can only talk about Bangalore. There's a lot of theory around inclusion, and we have to be very careful and be like hawks when we recommend an inclusive school to our children. Sometimes we have sent them to schools that advertise, inclusion, but that doesn't happen because every year the teachers keep changing, and they are not. All the teachers are not trained and taught to identify learning difficulties. So I find that we have to really go for smaller schools that have fewer number sometimes, and only most schools. That's my experience. I don't want to ram all the schools of our country, but they have one counselor who is in charge of everything. So it doesn't work. So that's why I tell all my parents, please go and talk to the school, declare that your son has a difficulty, make
True.
sure that you meet the person who is going to teach the child, ask for a timetable, ask for a plan, and then go, because we have all fallen flat on our faces after recommending. So we must be very careful about
Thanks,
that.
Seema. Again, beautiful.
And
Yeah,
I also feel, Vivek, I also feel that the mainstream teachers, when I say mainstream, the teachers, those who are doing the DEd or BEd or MEd and coming, I think if they are also given a training about SLD, or even if they are given a training to how to check the notebook or to how to check the exam paper, okay? Because most of the time the children come saying that, Didi, I had written correct. Didi, I wrote this sentence was correct, Didi, but she, see, because the child has written the way that child thought. Okay.
Yeah.
The message was there, that the message, whether it is THET or THAT, maybe that word is put in the sentence and the child must have thought giving the message. But if the teacher is very focused on that, she wants the correct way to be written is not happening, then I think the teacher needs to be, by the parent, the parent has to go and inform the teacher that these are the difficulties and be lenient while you're checking the papers.
Yes, Deep. I completely agree. I just want to now go again, turn to the parents about, because so when it came to your child, what kind of school did you look at once you realized that your child has got a learning disability difference, whatever. So how did you go about looking for the right school? So Srilata, we'll start with you, and then we'll hear from Chaya.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a long story, but I'll try and keep it short. So when we realized that my daughter had SLD, so what also happened is that Nirmala Pandit, who assessed her, turned to me and said, look, you're a teacher yourself, and I think you can kind of handle this yourself. I can give you a few tips and you can begin the work of remediation. You can work with your daughter yourself. Right. And I don't know, very bravely and very foolishly, I guess, I took the plunge. So the role of parent and remedial teacher, though I'm not a trained remedial teacher like some of you all in the room, I have no formal training at all. And I was actually only teaching, I was teaching at college level. So that was the other thing. But I sort of, I think I just went with Nirmala's assessment of what I would be capable of. And I took it on and I taught myself, again, not formally, but just by reading and by speaking to Nirmala. And I sort of did that. So for a while, my daughter was able to continue in the Montessori school, I think till about, middle of class 5. And that is when the school sort of rapidly switched to this examination mode, this pen, paper, test. I mean, already reading and writing was a big burden for her. It was very difficult. But then suddenly exams hit her. And suddenly those exams somehow, even though that was an alternate school, so-called alternate school, that the transition, I think even regular kids without SLD were struggling with that onslaught of exams and tests, And my daughter, of course, struggled a lot. And there were all these red marks that you all spoke about, which I think Hema really spoke about. And it's so disheartening, for her. She would just come a very sensitive child also, and she would just withdraw. So we could see that she was actually getting depressed. And there's a way in which her vitality was being sucked out of her. So that was the time we said, no, this can't go on. And actually, as a family, all of us, and we spoke to her, and she said, I just want to stop going to school. And I don't know if I still don't know whether we took the right decision, but yeah, maybe we did. We sort of pulled her out, and for about 1.5 years, we homeschooled her. Then, of course, all of those challenges of socializing and like, what do you do? And things like that continued. So then we then looked back for a mainstream school, but it was a small mainstream school where, she is, and there were one or two really kind human beings there. They were not trained in remediation or anything like that, but they were just good-hearted, kind people in the old-fashioned sense of the word. And she blossomed there, So even though it was a mainstream CBSE school and, it's continued to have her struggles, I would help her at home. So that was how we went about it. But then, of course, disaster struck when finally that school could not offer a humanities stream. She wanted to do the humanities. So we switched. She wanted to go into a very, very mainstream, highly competitive school. And it was a disaster. It was a real disaster. So yeah, so a lot of trial and error, right through. And no ideal inclusive school, as you said, even schools that say they're inclusive, I've seen the worst of that. Like there was an inclusive school, school that advertised itself as inclusive, which when we were looking to admit my daughter, made her go through an admission test. Okay, she went through all that. And then they said, who's going to admit this kind of child? And that's how the title of my book came about.
Oh my God.
And it was so hurtful for all of us.
My God.
Yeah. Even now I remember that the shock and the horror of that, because I wasn't expecting that kind of betrayal from a school that claimed to be inclusive. I'm okay if it's a mainstream school, they're not claiming that. Yeah. So I guess.
It is a saga, right? It's like every parent here would have a saga. I think it's unfortunate that, you cannot just say, okay, we'll go to the school and then, the next we need to see is only when they are in this 8th standard or 9th standard or something like that. It's every few months we have to reassess what's kind of going on. So Chai Didi, I'll now come to you.
Sorry if I made
go ahead, please. Yeah.
Sorry. No, also, I think additionally, the challenge in our case was both my husband and I are academics. So this horrible thing would happen with schools, especially the last very terrible mainstream school that she was going to, which is people who turn to us during every PTA and they'll say, you guys are academics and your parents are academics and look at you, Speaking of comparison, or so bad, we would all come out like actually crying and weeping, and I'm not exaggerating. I would just come out and weep, and my daughter would weep, and it would just be a weeping contest, It was horrible days. Really bad. And sometimes I would really regret the fact that I was an academic, and I would try to actually not say it at all, because I would always feel that then they would judge my daughter, more harshly.
May I just come in?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Adding on to what you said, okay, as a parent, you go through this, was it my fault? As a mother, you go through it even worse. You dissect every part of your pregnancy. Did I take the folic acid pill? Did I do this? Did I give the right food? Did I do this? Don't get into that guilt trip. I know right now it's easy for me to say, but I think we've all gone through that, and especially, this comparison either with a sibling or with you, कि ओ तुम्हारा लड़का ऐसा है, ऐसा तो कभी सोचा नहीं था. It's not hereditary, it's not environment. It just is. If we accept that, okay. And then another thing that parents, पहले तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. This is all newfangled nonsense, and these are family members who talk like that. What is this ADHD and all? He's an active child. He'll get back to, this thing. ADHD, now you added dyslexia also. You don't, you're working in this field, so you're adding that. Go with your gut instinct. Filter out as a parent. It takes a little effort, but like you said, you do question every minute, and that's not very healthy. Okay, that is not very healthy. Thank you.
थैंक यू दिल्ली दीदी. चाय दीदी, तो पीफर बैट में तो आपने बताया कि क्या क्या आपने करना पड़ा, लेकिन वापस आप बताइए कि जब संकेत को आपको सबसे ज्यादा पहला आपको ही लगा कि कुछ तो है, क्योंकि उसका पढ़ाई में थोड़ा मतलब पढ़ने में टाइम हो रहा है वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह, तो आप जरा फिर बताएं कि आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस था कि अच्छा स्कूल ढूंढने का संकेत के लिए.
हाँ बराबर. सॉरी.
दीदी आप मराठी में
आवाज
बात
आ रहा
करो.
है?
हाँ.
हाँ
हाँ.
हाँ. मला जेव्हा पहिल्यांदा समजलं की बाबा आपल्या मुलाला प्रॉब्लेम आहे, तर स्कूलवाल्यांनी जेव्हा सांगितलं की बाबा मला हे समजलं जेव्हा की प्रिन्सिपलनी सांगितलं की तुमच्या मुलाला असं असं प्रॉब्लेम आहे. त्याच्यानंतर मला ते त्याच्या पप्पांना सांगायला खूप त्रास झाला. त्यांनी ऍक्सेप्टच नाही केलं. सुरुवातच घरापासून झाली माझी. आणि मला त्यांना हे करायला लागलं, ऍक्सेप्ट करायला खूप त्रास घ्यावा लागला. तो खूप मला प्रॉब्लेम झाला. त्याच्यानंतर त्यांनी मान्य केलं कसं, मी त्यांना खूप त्रास घेतला. मला ह्याच्यामध्ये वेळ गेला खूप माझा. आणि त्याच्यानंतर त्यांनी सांगितलं की स्पेशल स्कूलमध्येच टाकायला लागेल. जेव्हा मी स्पेशल स्कूल शोधायला गेले, मला असेसमेंट केल्यानंतर त्यांनी सांगितलं की मराठी मीडियम मधनच त्याचं शिक्षण झालं पाहिजे. मग स्पेशल स्कूल मराठी मीडियम मधनं असते हे मला माहिती नव्हतं. मला स्कूल इंग्लिश मीडियम असतं स्पेशलचे हे मला माहिती होत्या. पण मला जेव्हा मराठीचे स्कूल शोधायला लागल्यात, तेव्हा मला तर खूपच त्रास झाला. त्याच्यानंतर मी कसं बसं शोधलं स्कूल, विद्याज्योतीमध्ये टाकलं, तिथं ठेवलं. परत मला वाटलं की हे स्कूल आपल्या मुलासाठी नाही वाटत आहे. तिथं नाहीये, ह्याच्यापेक्षा चांगली स्कूल पाहिजे जरा. मग तिथलं मी ठेवलं 2 वर्ष. त्याच्यानंतर तिथले प्रिन्सिपल स्वतः म्हणाले की तू मेनस्ट्रीम स्कूलमध्येच त्या मुलाला टाक. तुला इथं गरज नाही. म्हणजे मुलाची ग्रोथ चांगली होईल तिथे. आणि मग नंतर मी स्कूल्समध्ये पण घ्यायला गेले ऍडमिशन. तेव्हा मी त्या माझ्या मुलाचा प्रॉब्लेम सांगितला तर ते ऍडमिशन द्यायला तयार नाहीयेत. मराठी मीडियम मध्ये बरेच लोकांना माहितीच नाहीये की असं असते मुलांना प्रॉब्लेम SLDचा. ते म्हणतात तसं काही नाहीये, तुम्हीच पालक त्याचा इश्यू करताय. असंच त्यांनी मला खूप त्रास दिला. म्हणजे मला खूप त्रास झाला त्या गोष्टीचा. मग नंतर मी त्यांना सांगितलं की बाबा असं असं. मग त्यांनी ऍडमिशन दिलं. एकतर ऍडमिशन देत नव्हते. मी कसं ऍडमिशन घेतलं त्या स्कूलमध्ये, मेनस्ट्रीम स्कूलमध्ये. ऍडमिशन घेतल्यानंतर मी त्यांना म्हटलं की त्याला फक्त बोलायचा प्रॉब्लेम आहे, बाकी काहीच नाहीये. तर ते म्हणले ठीक आहे, आमच्याकडे रिमिडियल ट्युटर आहे. मग म्हटलं अजून सांगा. मग मी त्या स्कूलमध्ये टाकलं. ते स्कूलची स्ट्रेंथ मराठी मीडियमची असते जवळजवळ 70 to 80 एका क्लासमध्ये. मी म्हटलं ह्याच्यामध्ये ह्याची कशी ग्रोथ होणार. मग आपल्याला नाही का रिमिडियल ट्युटरची तर गरज आहे. मग आपण ते शोधायचं. मग परत मी शोधत शोधत मैत्रिणींना विचारत आणि सगळं शोधत गेले. तेव्हा मग नंतर मला भेटले रिमिडियल ट्युटर, पण ते इंग्लिश शिकवणारे. ते म्हटले मी तुमच्या मुलाला नाही शिकवू शकत. मला इंग्लिश मीडियमच येतं, मला मराठी नाही जमत. मी म्हटलं आता हे मोठा प्रॉब्लेम आला माझ्याकडे. आणि त्यात आम्ही ज्या एरियामध्ये राहतोय त्या एरियामध्ये काही एवढं माहिती नाहीये. म्हणजे जिथं की ज्यांना रिमिडियल ट्युटर माहित नाही, स्पेशल स्कूल हे काहीच माहित नाही. मग नंतर त्यांनी सांगितलं की माझी अशी अशी फ्रेंड आहे, त्यांच्याकडे जावा तुम्ही. आणि मग त्यांनी मला हेमा दीदींचा नंबर दिला. आणि मग मी हेमा दीदींकडे गेले. मग हेमा दीदींनी मला खूप प्रॉब्लेम म्हणजे खूप सगळे सॉल्व्ह केले. मग आम्ही स्कूलमध्ये भेटलो. स्कूलवाल्यांना प्रत्येक वेळेला मला जावं लागायचं. की प्रत्येक वेळेला म्हणजे ते म्हणायचे तुम्हीच सांगताय असं की नाही का तुमच्या मुलाला प्रॉब्लेम आहे, त्याला नाहीये काय. मी म्हणायची तसं नाहीये. तो प्रॉब्लेम म्हणजे आम्ही म्हणत नाही आमचा मुलगा असा आहे म्हणून. आम्हाला फक्त स्लो लर्निंग, त्याला लर्निंग डिफिकल्टी हे आम्हाला सांगायचंय, बाकी आम्हाला काय म्हणायचं नाहीये. हे मग आम्ही त्यांच्याशी बोलून मग त्याच्यानंतर हेमा दीदींचं भरपूर कॉपरेशन आलं मला. हेमा दीदींचा सपोर्ट मला अजूनपर्यंत आहे. त्याच्यामुळे आता मी ते प्रॉब्लेम काही फेस करत नाहीये. मी त्याच्यातून गेलेली आहे. त्याच्यानंतर मग हेमा दीदींनी केल्यामुळे हे सगळं माझं प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व्ह झालं.
लेकिन आपसे
Basically,
सुनाई दे रहा है कि स्कूल से आपको कुछ सपोर्ट ही नहीं मिला, विद्या ज्योति से नहीं मिला, दूसरा स्कूल से भी नहीं मिला। ज्यादातर
नहीं,
जो संकेत का जो एजुकेशन हुआ, अच्छा एजुकेशन हुआ, सिर्फ हेमा दीदी के हाथ में हुआ। तो अगर रेमेडियल टीचर
हाँ
नहीं होता,
बराबर, हेमा दीदी
नहीं.
नहीं
Vivek,
होता,
you will
नहीं होता.
translate.
Actually, what is the thing now, Vivek? The thing was that
One minute,
first
Hema,
of all,
sorry.
Could we
Hema, 1 minute.
Could we
I'm just, before you get into it, there is a lot of requests for translation. Will you translate?
yeah, I'm translating.
Yeah, first give the
Okay.
gist, then you get into the thing.
Yeah. So what Chaya is trying to tell is that the moment she understood that there is some difficulty and she tried to tell her Sanket's dad, to her husband, he was on denial. So the first challenge what she was facing was not from anybody else, but from her own family member who is the father of that child. And he was just not in favor of this, and he kept saying, no, it's okay, it'll happen, this is a milestone, it'll happen, you don't worry. But then Chaya was very worried about him, and Chaya somehow took help from people, and she went for assessment. When she went for assessment to KEM, and from KEM, when she understood that the child has learning difficulties, SLD, and she tried to look for remedial tutors. So she was not getting any remedial tutors. And then somebody suggested her among the friend circles that you have to go to a special needs school. So she took him to a school, a special needs school. The child started going to that school, but then she felt that my child is sitting in the students who is not at par, because she felt that over there are only special needs children are sitting over there. But she wanted to send the child to a school where Sanket can be over there with learning with SLD. And then she started hunting for schools, and she was not getting Marathi medium schools which will support SLD, because all the school denied. Then she went to one school, and she came to me and she said that I want to go in school. So I told her, I'm being very honest to everybody, that I told her, don't go and tell anything about anything. Just go and tell I want to take admission. Rest we will do later. Because the reason was that first we wanted a school where the child enters the school. Rest all was not important. What was important, that the child needs to enter the school, and then we will take care we will deal with the school principal or with the teachers and all. She went in the school, he got admitted, and then after 6 months she walked in and she told them that this is the certificate from KM, because then a little bit Sanket's father started helping. So I told, come on, open the law, open everything, so that we can go and stand in front of the school and say, this is the law, you have to give admission. Now you can't deny the admission, because now the child is in the school. So you can't remove that child from the school. Because what the schools is, our experience is that the schools don't say, we are removing the child. You know what do they say? They say, please give an application for school leaving certificate, which is very sad, So I had told Sanket's dad and Chaya that what may so ever happen, if the school says give the application for leaving certificate, you are not going to give. Say, no, but we don't want to leave the school. We want to keep. Your school is very good. You are the best school. And we know that your results are very good. Your teachers are very good. Keep praising, but let the child be in that school only. And then we went to the school slowly. I used to walk in with her in the school and used to go and tell them that only this support you have to give. Rest you don't worry. Only this much support you have to give. When you're checking his spelling, see that if he's writing something wrong, it's okay. Instead of r, if he's writing the, it's okay. You understand. So I started telling the teachers about how to deal with Sanket. Then I started speaking to the principal that how he's going to get concession. So not to worry, because the principal kept saying that our school result is 100% in the board exam, and it can't go to 99.99 because of one child. That was the thing, and I think that is right. So I said, no, we are giving you the word. The school will get 100% results. You don't have to worry. And I kept telling Chaya also that she has to do that, and Chaya kept doing that. Slowly, he started doing very good progress. And then we went to SSC board, and we took out lots of information on what all concessions they have. We took all those concessions, we walked into the school and we told them that these are the concessions given by the government of Maharashtra, and can you please take this into consideration and we'll help you with everything. Rest of the training we'll do, but you don't remove the child from the school. And he did it very successfully and he passed with 82%.
The great story, and it's a thing, it's really a long haul too, as far as Chaya is concerned, who had to kind of battle on multiple fronts.
Lots.
So I'll go to a slightly more pleasant topic, such as it is. Which is essentially about the fact that while we are talking about learning difference or learning disability or difficulty, we also ignore that the child is much more than that, right? So, which is that very often it's not that every SLD child has got one special talent. Every child has got special talents, in my opinion. And so how is it that we can, nowadays there is, given the Marvel universe, there is a tendency to call everything a superpower. So let me use that term. So how do you find the child's superpower? The sense that the specific things that the child may be best at, and this is of course a question for both counselors, remedial teachers and parents, because it also essentially says that how we are able to treat the child in a unique way and put together a program which is able to both manage the areas where he or she has a difficulty while fostering the areas where they are kind of particularly good at. So, so Dillu Didi, maybe you can start and then we can, go around in any order with regard to either parents or remedial teachers and anyone else who would like to contribute.
So there is this saying that nobody is a good for nothing. Everybody is good at something. So that's what we have to find. There is no child or human being there are lots of skills. We've heard about the theory of multiple intelligences, where it's just not academics that, you are valued. And in today's competitive world, there is another very often used phrase that I love is IQ may get you the job, but EQ keeps you there. So there are lots of skills that people have. It could be a child could be a great artist, a musician, a sports person. We need to find that. What happens very unfortunately in most cases very often is that the pressure is so much on school, remedial, coming back. The talent, the child misses out on exploring these options as when he or she is younger. So please don't make that mistake. Put him for whatever, elocution classes, singing, art, painting, whatever is around you, whatever is feasible, both financially, space-wise, and you will be, I'm amazed to see that your child does well. It's not just that. Even appreciate a child's what we call inter and intrapersonal skills. Some children are just very good friends. Okay, they are always there for someone, irrespective of their disability. And let me tell you, children don't differentiate. Of course, in an inclusive school, the environment is like that. Children don't, bother if you got a 3 out of 10 or an 18 out of 20. They want you as a friend. They want you as, that footballer or whoever, sharing things with them. So don't forget that aspect and expose your child at a young age so that you can find that there are so many talents that your child has. It need not be something which is recognized like, you don't have to be the top. And another very, saying that I've heard from one of our core team members was, every child will find a college. It may not be that of your choice. In Pune, it need not be Ferguson or Symbiosis, but your child will find a college. Okay.
True.
And your child will do well. And I want to reassure the parents out here that my child went with a writer right up till degree. Okay. Yes, there were a little hitches, but now the awareness is much more, and colleges also help. Okay, I'll stop here.
Thank you, Dilli Didi. Seema, over
I'd
to you.
like to add that very early on, we know whether the child is right-brained or left-brained.
Yeah.
And very often we notice that children who are right-brained are so creative. And I know of many people who have, been deeply dyslexic and are great artists, great musicians, sports people, and we see that. So even when we do remedials, like even in our remedial program, I make sure that we put in activities that excite them. So if I talk about cars with them, I sometimes notice that they jump up and they want to talk, and then I'm amazed to see how much knowledge they have of the cars. Or even a young child who likes dinosaurs, they so love them. And we make projects and make them write through that. So it also helps our remedial programs, and also then we report to the parent. That's how you work at home with them. Don't always get out curriculum sometimes, because that gets very strenuous and spoils the relationship between parents as well, sir, between the parent and the child. So there's a lot that we discover even as special educators about our students come to us. And I find that a lot of fun. So we have always followed a non-curricular approach to remediation for this reason, because we have to first make the kid happy and confident about what he wants to do. We use rap. You can use, as a special educator or as a parent, you can use rap to make him learn things. You can use music. You can use so many things. So once we discover as parents that our children like that, so we should be able to, even as parents, use these strategies to make them willing and happy learners. Just wanted to add that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. And I
So,
very honestly feel that we cannot work on weaknesses. And I think we shouldn't. We should only and only work on the strengths, because weaknesses, we are not going to get any output.
Exactly.
Recently, one of my student, second grader, and he had to write, "My house is beautiful." Okay, and the class teacher told him to write something about his house, and he had to write that one sentence. An amazing artist. So he wrote "my." Then he made a picture of a house, a small house. Okay, and then is, and he made a flower. And the teacher didn't understand. And the teacher gave him a big cross. And she said, "This is not what he wanted." And then he comes to me and he's telling, "You know what, Didi? Can I explain you what this is?" So I just wanted to understand. So he's telling me, "This is my house. And it is like this." So I said, "Like this means what, Keval?" So he's telling, "Its flower is beautiful. So my house is also beautiful." I feel this is so much important for a teacher to understand before even just giving that big red cross. First of all, that red pen has to be out of all the schools. And the teacher should not give that cross. Rather, if the child is writing something wrong, they should write "no, no." They should not write that, give that big cross. They should just write "no, no." So then the child understands. It is not, I'm not speaking about the child with SLD, but even the mainstream child, because that big cross is a very negative sign. So if you write N or no, the child understands, oh, this is not the answer. The answer is something else. So this is what I just wanted to add.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Jaya Didi, Srilata, either of you?
छाया आप पहले बोलिए.
हाँ.
छाया, तुम्हाला आज लक्षात आहे सगळं का सगळं विसर पडलं का? म्हणजे तुम्हाला कसं वाटतं?
1 minute. माझ्या आता कसं झालंय, थोडंसं विसर पडलाय, बराच गॅप झालाय माझ्यामध्ये. आता 4 वर्षापूर्वी झालेले ते घटना सगळ्या आहेत ते रिपीट होत आहेत. त्याच्यामुळे मला थोडं आता विसर पडल्यागत झालेलं आहे. आता माझ्या मुलामध्ये ते काहीच डिफरन्सेस नाही राहिलेले. त्याच्यामुळे मला परत बॅकला जायचं आणि ते सगळं आठवायचं, सगळ्या गोष्टी होत आहेत माझ्या बरोबर. त्याच्यामध्ये त्यामुळे माझ्यासाठी ते सगळं खूप न्यू आहे, की बाबा आता नाही का, आता हे सगळं परत बोलायला लागते. त्या सिच्युएशन मध्ये मी असते तर मी फुल कॉन्फिडन्स मध्ये बोलू शकत होते. आता माझ्यासाठी ते वेगळं पडतंय. जे एवढे 4-5 वर्षाचं आता संकेतमध्ये माझे पूर्ण इम्प्रुव्हमेंट झालेली आहे आणि मला जसं पाहिजे तसं घडलेलं आहे सगळ्या गोष्टी. त्यामुळे मला परत एवढं बॅकला जायचं आणि आता बोलायचं कोणाविषयी. मी नक्कीच कोणाला कुठल्या पेरेंट्सला काय पाहिजे असेल तर नक्कीच मी मदत करू शकेल. मी जे काय केले, कोणाकडे पाठवायचं, कोणाकडे काय करायचं, ते सगळ्या गोष्टी मी मदत करू शकते. म्हणजे मला जो काही त्रास झालाय तो कोणालाच होऊ नये हे नक्कीच मला वाटतं. म्हणजे स्कूल्स मधून असू द्या, ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी आहेत. म्हणजे ज्यांना माहित नाहीये त्यांना मी माहिती सांगेल, की बाबा मुलगा तुमचा असा नाही, असा आहे, SLD आहे. हे फेस मधनं, हे म्हणजे तुमचा मुलगा म्हणजे मतिमंद नव्हे. त्या गोष्टी असतात. हे तुम्ही ऑब्झर्व करा. तुम्ही स्वतः हे करा. त्याच्यावरती नका लादू कुठल्या गोष्टी. ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी मी आधी सांगू शकेल एखाद्याला, एखाद्याने विचारलं तर. पण आता सध्या मी ह्या प्रॉब्लेम कुठलेच माझ्याकडे नाहीये.
Okay.
म्हणजे
She's trying
संख्येच्या
to tell,
रिलेटेड मी
yeah. So she's
संख्येच्या
trying to,
रिलेटेड मी
so she's trying to tell that today, she's telling today it is very difficult for me to recollect all that what happened, because today what I can see is only the present, whatever Sanket is today, and today is so beautiful. So when I try to think about what happened 10 years ago or 12 years ago, it becomes very difficult for me to even to I don't want to recollect in this, because what is today is I want to enjoy today. But one thing I can definitely do, she's telling, that if any parent who, if I feel this having a child with some difficulties, I can definitely go and help them and tell them how they have to help their child.
Lovely is that.
Beautiful.
Are we taking questions now, Vivek?
No, we'll kind of probably, so Srilata, can you think?
Yeah.
Then after that, we'll probably have a, go ahead, Srilata. After that,
Yeah.
we'll probably have
My-
one final one.
Yeah. So in our case, it was like, speaking of strengths, very early in life, our daughter made it very clear that what she really liked to do, and she was really good at, was music and singing. So I think the burden of having to identify what are her strengths and none of that, like, it was very apparent. And she's always been a very independent-minded child. So she told us right in the beginning, I do not want to go for any other special classes. All I want to do is go for my weekly music class, and that's it. And so she stayed with that interest, and she eventually went to college and she did a triple degree in Western music, psychology, and literature. So she stayed with that interest, and she's now training to be a expressive arts and music therapist.
Wow.
So just wanted to say, I think sometimes the child shows you the way, at least in our case. I guess in most cases,
Yes.
Very true.
we are attentive, then I think we figure it out. Like, yeah, I think, and yeah, you're right. I mean, multiple intelligences, they have just so many. And as you said, like, some children are just make such good friends. And why is it that we don't value? I mean, we all know, having worked in various environments over the years, you realize not many people know how to be good human beings.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely
Yeah, and
right.
that's a skill. Like, that is of great value in any workspace. And, I think they will go on and do well. And it may not be the same definition of doing well that we think, as mainstream
Yeah.
society, but I'm sure they will do well,
So, I think we're obviously still well beyond time, but it's been fascinating. So I was just wondering whether there are any questions from the audience, whether anyone want to ask questions. Then after that, we'll probably have a final summing up by each of the panelists can maybe give them a minute, and then they can just have their closing thoughts on this. And then we'll close
So
for the-
Jaisri is asking something. Some question Jaisri is asking if there is a, can
Do
someone
we have a
read out
city-wise list of remedial educators in school? Schools had a tough time finding one for my son. It actually took me 8 years to find him Didi. So, I mean, I think there are multiple people in this audience who can answer this question. So if you search the net, you'll probably find. I will answer this. You'll probably find such lists. But again, then how valid they are and how curated they are, we don't know. And very often schools also, I mean, when I actually started on this journey, one of my big educators in this space has been Masarat Khan, and who's the CEO of MDA, who's of course also on this call. And I kept badgering her for list of schools. And she basically finally said that that's not something a good idea because, one is that if you include one school and not the other school, then, the school, other school would also say, why is the school there and we are not there? And so it becomes rather than get into all that space, it becomes difficult to kind of give such lists. What we are trying to do in Kolam, trying to start off is just with a very, very short list of highly curated schools, or rather schools where multiple people are saying this is a good school, right? So right now the website is still under development, but I'll be able to share it with you or with any others. So we don't want to have 1,000 schools or 500 schools or anything like that. Though obviously every city might have. Even if we are able to point to just 2 or 3 schools within a city, we are quite content. So that's currently what we are kind of trying to put together. Remedial teachers we are not doing, but I'm sure that maybe again other lists that are available. What we are trying to also add is something like a list of SLD support organizations. For example, the Maharashtra Dyslexia Association. There is Madras Dyslexia Association. There is Changing. There are multiple organizations which are there to support the parents, support the family. That list also we are kind of trying to put together. But yes, ideal thing would be that this is a very good list of schools across in different parts of India, which are kind of really good for the child to go. But it's really difficult to do. And one more thing we realize is that schools change constantly. One faculty leaves, another, and the whole nature of the school often changes, right? So this has also got to be something that has to be continuously monitored every 6 months or even more frequently, just to make sure that the school retains its character. So yes, the answer is that it is ideal to have, it's difficult to do. How to help a child who has LD and due to delayed early intervention has developed a huge learning gap. This is from Saroj Jondali.
Yes.
I can answer that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say that once the child has been, we have to, of course, do the assessment. Once that's done, we have a fairly good picture of the gap that's there. But the parent has to understand that it's not a quick fix solution. It's a long-term
Yes.
commitment. And if the parent understands that, then I think that that gap starts narrowing. It takes time, but the gap certainly narrows. And I find that it's very important for the parent to understand because, they're in panic. I cannot totally understand. The parents are in so much panic when that assessment report, the dreaded report comes and they discover the deficits. So I think the special educator and the parent at that point has to be counseled in a very,
True.
very delicate manner because they are hurt, they are upset. And so are we because the job is a very formidable one, when there's a big deficit to work with a child. But it's possible. We've had amazing success stories with the combination of, multiple intelligence, teaching the child different strategies. And the most important thing is that we must, when we talk about a learning program, make sure that the learning program is very structured because we are going to make new patterns in the brain. If we have a very structured program and we take advantage of the neuroplasticity of the brain and we teach in the same manner in every lesson. So every lesson plan that we do, parents should make sure that all the elements of remedial work are included, like sequencing, a little bit of reading, which will help them, a little bit of dictation, which will help them follow instructions and, help them with their auditory sequencing. So a little bit of mazes. So and make it, with different elements again, because if we have a heavy academically, oriented lesson plan, it won't work because the child has come to us already in a very stressful and in an I hate books attitude. So we have to make sure that, we make him start liking those books. So, and then I think if the patients, if the parents and the child and the teacher, they all cooperate and keep the child in a good mood, there's a huge improvement.
Yes. True.
So, are there any other questions? If not, I have a question for, which is that how do you either as a school counselor or as a remedial teacher who's associated with schools, help the child deal with classroom issues? For example, one thing that came up a few days back was that other children may say, why is this child getting so many concessions? Why am I not getting any concessions? And so this bias within the class because of the inability of the other child to understand what's going on would again then play out in the way in which children, deal with each other. So that maybe, the child may come in for ribbing or for even worse, cruelty. So how do you help as a school counselor in, dealing with such a problem in the classroom?
Yes, it is a challenge. And very often, sometimes the child with the special needs also doesn't like it, Why am I different? In fact, we have a child who's just come into 10th. Is it fair? I have been, I'm getting a writer kind of a thing. So it takes time. That's why, as a counselor, I think what we have in our school is life skills classes once a week timetable. So the counselor is there, so she or he understands the school dynamics. But yes, competition is a big issue now, and children can be cruel. What we can do is we can equip the child with the learning difficulty to
Yes.
stand up for himself or herself. And with the school, we work as a school. We don't want to put down the other child too. He also is 13 or 14 years old. And so we build this in, and we talk about, like, for the younger ones, that if I have a fracture, then I need a plaster. And that is there for some time. So it's an aid. It doesn't make me a cripple lifelong. And I do have other strengths also. It's a fine balance, but it comes with a supporting thing. And one thing I would say is, for parents, don't get into that fighting mode. Why did that happen to my child? And my child, don't do that either. Neither do you it's okay, let it be. Help the child to stand up. It is a fine balance. It comes with the support of the school, and the parent is the only thing that I can think of right now.
True.
Are there any other questions? If not, then I will ask all the panelists to maybe spend a minute on their own, on kind of their final thoughts on this, because either as a parent, as a remedial teacher, as a counselor. So you could talk about your experience as a parent, with whether if you have any suggestions or thoughts, or as a counselor, what is the most important thing, whatever, right? So over to you guys. So we can start with the parents and then go to the remedials and counselor. So Chai Didi, so supposing से आपको suggest करना है कि करना क्या चाहिए माहौल में कि children with SLD को अच्छी तरह बढ़ता हो
हेलो
and they are able to function better.
आवाज नहीं आ रहा है
I think Akansha wants to say
हेलो
Yeah, yes, Akanksha. Yeah, please, Akanksha, please speak up.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Akanksha, speak up, please.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Namaste, sir. Sir, I have a question. My son, like recently got to know that, he's also having, this difficulty. So I just wanted to know how to make school aware about this situation. Like, how to tell them, because there is a PTM coming next week. So just wanted to know, like, this is very new thing for me as well. So just a simple question. I want
Excellent
to.
question. I think many people would have this question. Dillu Didi.
Oh, me? Okay.
Anyone, I mean, I'm fine with anyone,
Yeah.
Hema Didi or anyone
Has
speaking
your
up.
child been assessed? Then it helps a lot. Okay. There are, like, Seema is here with us. If there is an assessment, I don't know which part of the thing. So if there's an assessment from a proper, like in Pune, it's KEM or certain clinical psychologists that are approved, and the highest certificate comes from, of course, Sassoon Hospital. It helps. Be calm, prepare yourself is what I would say. And don't put your child down in terms of, oh, he's so bad. I would not say that. Just stick to the report and say that he needs concessions or he needs help in either it's reading or in math or whatever, and we would like the school to support him, is what I would say. Hema or Seema can add on maybe.
Yes, I would say that you have to walk into the school. Number one, the most important thing I feel is you have to walk in confidently, because I feel the school needs to understand that you want to help your child. And the moment the school knows that you are willing to help the child, definitely the school will help you. And I think you can openly show the report to the school. And I even feel that if you can talk to them and ask them, do they have remedial tutors? What type of support can they give? And is their school inclusive? And to the best of my knowledge, what I feel, no school can deny any student. That is the law. That no school can say that we don't want this child, we don't take this child. Okay, so you have to go in the school and first give the report to them, a photocopy of the report, and ask them to read it, go through it, and then ask them for the help, ask them for the concessions.
So, ma'am, like there is no diagnosis is not there. But yeah, the symptoms are literally matching with the dyslexia. That's why I'm telling. So learning disability is there. So I am in contact with Seema ma'am. So that's why I just wanted to know, like, shall I tell them or shall I wait for the proper diagnosis?
Yeah,
And
I think
then
you should. You should get that assessment done.
Assessment is the important thing. Until unless you don't, because I am thinking he's dyslexic, is the school will not agree. So you have to
yeah,
have an assessment report in your hand, which you have to go and show them that this is the assessment done, and whatever is the difficulty.
okay. Okay,
And
ma'am.
yes, but you can definitely ask for be a little more compassionate. I don't know what the strength of the school is or what, I mean, if it's a mainstream school, that
The
I would,
mainstream school.
yeah, I would not want you to shout at my child. Give him that extra support of, giving him a little extra time or whatever. See, schools will not agree without a report. But
Yeah,
basically,
one more thing, ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. One more thing is
please
here
go
I would
ahead.
like to add on. They say that we do not shout at your son, but when we shout at other kids, he gets scared. So we cannot help it because we have to shout at other kids. So I always ask them, do we need to shout? And then the kids will perform. So they are like, we have to do this because there are many kids who are very naughty and they don't listen. So we have to shout. We'll not shout at your kid, but other needs they need.
But actually, I think you have to show a report to the school, and if they accept that, and if you feel you have help, then you go
Mm.
ahead. Actually, I've just had a talk with her 2 days ago. So, you have to definitely then leave the school if they don't give you that, and go to an inclusive school that will help you, right?
True,
And
true.
tell them if the PTM is coming up, tell them that I am in the process of assessment. And since the school also, I mean, we can see his results or, the handwriting or whatever. So I would like to give him that additional support and help. And I'm in this process. And at this point of time, I need your support. And this child does get scared. So it would be nice that, okay, if you need to shout at the rest, which is again, I mean, personally, I don't agree. But sometimes perhaps it's necessary. Just reassure my son that it was not directed at you. And that much a teacher can definitely take a minute out to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you guys. I'll have to kind of wind up now. But it has been wonderful. We have got the whole range from trying to understand what are specific learning disabilities to looking at what are the kind of signs that are there to how to get the child assessed, parental experiences in this whole journey, the different kinds of schools that exist and their own individual experiences and the pros and the cons. And then getting into what are the kind of special character of the child and how should we kind of teach the child so that the special character is reinforced and grows and becomes better. So, for example, just to take an anecdote, Himadidi's son, Parth, I think the school essentially realized that he took some photographs and they really liked the photographs, the aesthetics of it. And so they made him the school photographer, even though he was in a junior class. And this kind of fostering, the child has exploded with whatever was there just came out, and that's what he works in now in Bangalore. So how to foster the child in such a way that you don't inhibit him or her growing in the right direction, and and I think that obviously this is a topic on which we can talk for not just 1 hour but many hours, many days. So, but I think we'll have to kind of wind this up. There have been also some very good questions being asked, but finally, I would like to say thank you all. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you for all the for people who took time to attend this. And thank you again. And I think that if you want to kind of reach out to any of us, I think that should be possible. And we'd be happy to hear from you on this or any other topic. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.